The arrival, November 10, 2025, 3:42 Universal Time Coordinated. At the edge of the inner solar system, between the orbits of Mars and the asteroid belt, a faint object was caught gliding silently across the blackness. At first, it was nothing more than a point of light, magnitude 19.4, easily mistaken for background noise in the nightly data feed from the Atlas survey in Hawaii. But when the automated orbit determination software flagged its trajectory, something stood out. This path wasn't bound to the sun. It was coming from outside. The object received its provisional designation, 3I/Atlas, the third interstellar object ever detected passing through our solar system. That should have been history enough. But almost immediately, the data began to whisper a deeper story. 1. The wrong kind of motion. When Dr. Lien Hu at the Max Planck Institute for Solar System Research reviewed the early orbital solutions, her first reaction was disbelief. "I thought it was a software error," she later said in an interview. The residuals didn't fit any known solution. Unlike other interstellar visitors, 3I/Atlas wasn't moving fast enough to escape easily. Its heliocentric velocity measured 33.7 kilometers per second, far slower than the expected 42 to 45 km/s for a body falling freely into the sun's gravity from interstellar space. "It's like it braked," Hu wrote in her preliminary report. "There's no drag in interplanetary space. Nothing that could slow it that much, not dust, not plasma, not gravity. The numbers were impossible." But the more observatories confirmed them, from the Subaru telescope in Japan, CTIO in Chile, and Palomar in California, the clearer it became. 3I/Atlas was not obeying standard celestial mechanics. 2. A rhythm in the light. As the days passed, astronomers tracked the object's changing brightness. Most comets brighten gradually as they approach the sun, sunlight heating their icy surfaces, releasing gas and dust. But 3I/Atlas didn't. Instead, it fluctuated, dimming and brightening in precise intervals. Every 163 seconds, a subtle rise and fall in luminosity repeated like a heartbeat. At first, teams thought it was an artifact, an error caused by atmospheric turbulence or tracking jitter. But the pattern persisted across instruments, across continents. "The signal was real," said Dr. Mark Delorier from the Lowell Observatory. "It was mechanical, regular, rhythmic. I've never seen a natural object do that." Spectroscopic analysis deepened the mystery. The light from 3I/Atlas wasn't the warm, golden reflection typical of carbonaceous material. It was cold blue, too blue, suggesting a reflective surface rather than diffuse ice. 3. The shape that shouldn't be. On November 16th, 6 days after its discovery, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory SOHO caught its first image of 3I/Atlas as it approached the inner solar system. The image, enhanced and stacked from multiple exposures, showed something wholly unexpected. The object appeared flat-edged, hexagonal, with distinct planar surfaces that reflected sunlight at consistent, geometric angles. It didn't tumble chaotically like a fragment. Its rotation was stable, exactly one revolution every 11.03 hours, and accelerating. "Objects this small don't spin up like that," Doctor Hu explained in a follow-up briefing. "Unless there's torque, unless there's control." Control. The word hung in the room like a static charge. 4. The global response. By November 18th, the discovery of 3I/Atlas was headline news across the world. NASA, ESA, and the Chinese National Space Administration all issued official statements, calling the object an extraordinary opportunity to study interstellar material. But behind closed doors, the tone was different. Internal memos from the Minor Planet Center and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory described unresolved anomalies in orbital decay and potential non-gravitational acceleration inconsistent with known cometary behavior. The Deep Space Network was ordered to begin continuous tracking. JWST's time schedule was reallocated. Every instrument that could possibly see or hear the object, SOHO, Stereo A, Bepi-Colombo, Parker Solar Probe, was asked to observe it. But even as the data poured in, one pattern repeated itself in every report. The numbers didn't make sense. 5. The first pulse. At 22:17 Universal Time Coordinated, November 22nd, a faint infrared fluctuation was recorded by JWST's NIR-SPEC instrument. A spike of emission at 8.9 microns, lasting just under half a second. It repeated exactly 163 seconds later. Then again. Not random, not noise, structured. "We're looking at modulation," said Dr. Delorier. "This isn't outgassing. This is a process, something cycling on a schedule." Over the next 48 hours, the pulse was confirmed independently by ALMA in Chile and the Infrared Telescope Facility in Hawaii. 3I/Atlas was emitting a narrowband infrared signal, repeating with perfect precision. The last observation of the night noted something even stranger. The phase of the pulse drifted slightly, a microscopic change, but one that correlated exactly with the time the object crossed Earth's line of sight, as if it was reacting. 6. The whisper before the storm. By November 25th, every major space agency was on alert. The object's brightness was increasing faster than any model predicted, 3.4 times higher than thermal simulations could explain. But there was no coma, no tail, no sublimation jets. It was, as one astronomer put it, like a mirror warming up. Doctor Who's team published a short internal note. "We are not observing a comet. We are observing a system." Within 72 hours, NASA classified all high-resolution data under restricted review. The light that shouldn't exist. November 28, 2025. The object known as 3I/Atlas had now moved inside the orbit of Mars. Its brightness had increased by more than a factor of 10 in just 8 days, but not because of sublimation, as with comets. There was no coma, no dust tail, no trace of volatile release. Instead, the light was too pure. Its spectral profile was unnaturally narrow, almost monochromatic. That was the first sign that something about 3I/Atlas was fundamentally wrong. 1. First light JWST observes. At 14:21 Universal Time Coordinated, NASA's James Webb Space Telescope turned its NIR-SPEC instrument toward the coordinates of 3I/Atlas. The observation request had been marked as high priority, non-public. It was only the second time in JWST's mission history that its schedule had been overridden mid-cycle. Within 2 hours, the raw spectra arrived at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore. The data looked clean, too clean, no noise spikes, no random scatter. Dr. Roma Majolo, leading the analysis team, noticed something immediately. The signal wasn't just emission, it was modulated. "It looks like a line spectrum," she told her team, "but it's breathing. It's pulsing in amplitude, not drifting, not decaying, pulsing." The pulses repeated every 163 seconds, the same rhythm first noticed in visible light by ground-based telescopes. Each pulse was composed of 2 distinct peaks, separated by 0.13 seconds, 2 structured to be thermal, 2 periodic to be random. When they ran a Fourier transform on the data, they found harmonics, frequencies nested within frequencies, patterns that suggested intentional encoding. "If it's natural," Majolo said, "then nature has just invented mathematics." 2. The shape emerges. On November 30th, ESA's Solar Orbiter captured its first full-phase optical images of 3I/Atlas. The data stunned everyone. The object wasn't irregular or chaotic like a comet nucleus. It was symmetrical, 6 distinct planar surfaces arranged in a hexagonal geometry. Each facet reflected sunlight at precise intervals as the object rotated. Telemetry analysis indicated a rotational period of 3.2 hours, significantly faster than the previous week's measurements. It was spinning up. Normally, such acceleration would cause a comet to tear itself apart, flinging dust and ice into a widening halo. But 3I/Atlas remained perfectly stable, its edges sharp, its outline crystalline. The reflectance spectra showed something else, metallic resonance. The return signatures were consistent with nickel-iron compounds, possibly silicate alloys, but with no known isotopic ratio. "We're not looking at a loose rubble pile," said Dr. Carl Badams of the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory. "We're looking at something monolithic." 3. The blue emission. Then came the glow. Around December 2nd, astronomers at the Lowell Observatory reported faint blue luminescence spreading across the object's surface. At first, it appeared as a reflection of solar radiation. But follow-up spectra revealed that the emission was coherent, laser-like. The Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics verified it independently. The light wasn't scattered sunlight, it was being generated. "We can see interference patterns," said Dr. Paolo Sornetti, lead investigator at ESA. "That means the photons are in phase. That doesn't happen with sunlight. That happens in a laser cavity." The emissions formed structured wavefronts across the object's surface, moving in synchronized arcs, like magnetic field lines shifting in slow motion. By cross-referencing the timing of these waves with the infrared pulses observed by JWST, analysts discovered something chilling. The light and the radiation were phase-locked, perfectly synchronized. The blue glow and the infrared pulses were two expressions of the same process, a global oscillation across the object's surface, operating with mechanical precision. 4. The meeting at JPL. December 3rd. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory held an emergency closed session meeting. Attendees included representatives from NASA, ESA, JAXA, and the Chinese National Space Administration. The classified agenda read, "Non-gravitational activity in 3I/Atlas hypothesis evaluation." The internal transcript, later leaked anonymously, described 3 working theories: unknown cometary physics, volatile release of a composition never before observed, electromagnetic interaction, charged particle oscillations induced by solar wind, artificial modulation, energy emission consistent with controlled systems. Most dismissed the third option out of hand, but the data refused to cooperate with the first 2. "We can't call it natural," one attendee noted. "Not with this regularity. The sun doesn't pulse like a machine." 5. The mirror test. On December 4th, the Parker Solar Probe conducted a long-distance optical scatter experiment, shining directed radar pulses toward the object to measure surface reflection. The results came back shocking. 3I/Atlas reflected signals with near-specular efficiency, almost like polished metal. Its radar cross-section was stable to the 5th decimal. The reflected wave carried a phase delay, as if passing through a structured medium, like signal bounce off a lattice rather than a solid. "We sent 1 pulse," Dr. Nadia Rees, mission analyst, explained. "It sent us 3 back. Not echoes, replicas. Each one slightly shifted in frequency. In other words, the object replied." 6. Light behavior that defies physics. At this point, the object's increasing brightness forced new models. Its apparent magnitude had risen to 12.3, far brighter than it should have been at that distance from the sun. But there was no corresponding thermal increase. Infrared measurements showed the object's temperature hovering at 220 Kelvin cold. Something was generating visible light without heat. That violated Planck's law. There was no known natural mechanism for such emission. It was as if 3I/Atlas was converting energy directly into light with zero thermal waste. Perfect emitter, perfect mirror, perfect mystery. 7. The turning point. On December 5th, as 3I/Atlas crossed $1.10 from the sun, it did something no one predicted. It slowed down. Orbital calculations from the Minor Planet Center showed a deceleration of 2.1% relative to solar gravitational velocity. No gas jets, no outgassing, no external force. The object had changed its speed seemingly by choice. At that same moment, the light pulses doubled in intensity. The emission pattern on its surface shifted into a new configuration. Not random, not chaotic. A repeating sequence of 12 luminous arcs. 12, the number of hours until its next signal. "I've spent 30 years modeling comets," said Dr. Sornetti. "I've never had to ask if one was watching us back." The signal, December 6, 2025. The object 3I/Atlas had now entered the orbit of Earth. Not physically close, but aligned within the ecliptic plane. Every major observatory on the planet was watching it, though few were admitting it publicly. For days, the pulse had remained stable. A steady rhythm, a 163-second heartbeat echoing through space. Then, without warning, that heartbeat changed. It slowed. 1. The shift. At 3:14 Universal Time Coordinated, the Deep Space Network antenna in Canberra, Australia, recorded a faint fluctuation on 8.9 microns, the same wavelength previously associated with the object's infrared pulses. But instead of a steady pattern, the pulse stretched, fractured, and reassembled into something new. The cycle lengthened to 214 seconds. Within each pulse were substructures, 3 bursts, evenly spaced, then a long silence, then a cluster of 5 shorter ones. 3, 5, 3, 5. A sequence that repeated endlessly. "It was deliberate," said Dr. Rees from JPL's analysis team. "There was information in the silence as much as in the signal. It wasn't noise anymore. It was syntax." The team ran cross-correlations, Fourier transforms, autocorrelation matrices. The pattern wasn't random. It had compression efficiency, and information density impossible for a natural source. "Entropy dropped," said Rees. "That means it's speaking." 2. The first contact. At 6:47 Universal Time Coordinated, the Madrid Deep Space Complex detected an identical signal, arriving precisely on the predicted time delay, confirming the emission was originating from 3I/Atlas and not from any terrestrial interference. When analysts folded the waveform and plotted it against amplitude over time, they found prime number intervals. Each pulse sequence corresponded to prime factors between 2 and 89, in ascending order. "That's a universal language," said Dr. Majolo at STSCI. "Math. It's math." For the next 6 hours, every antenna in the network was ordered to observe Canberra, Goldstone, Madrid, and Tidbinbilla. The pattern continued. No drift, no degradation. It was a broadcast, not aimed at any one place, but omnidirectional, radiating across the solar plane. But then, at 11:22 Universal Time Coordinated, something else happened. A second frequency appeared in the X-band, faint but coherent, centered on 8.421 gigahertz. It wasn't random noise. It was an echo of our own transmissions, delayed by 41 minutes. The object had begun retransmitting the DSN's own radar pings back to Earth. But not identically. They were modulated. "It's as if it's repeating what we said, but correcting us," Majolo whispered. 3. The global response. By the next day, December 7th, NASA, ESA, and the CNSA had formed a joint working group under the name Sigma Initiative, short for Signal Investigation of Galactic Mechanical Anomalies. Its official charter was never released publicly. All DSN traffic was encrypted. Observatory live feeds were shut down for maintenance. Press releases about 3I/Atlas stopped. Inside the classified briefings, the tone had shifted from curiosity to containment. The question was no longer what it was, but whether it was listening. 4. The translation problem. At 14:33 Universal Time Coordinated, the SETI Institute in California began an independent analysis of the signal structure. Their model, based on entropy compression, revealed layered modulation. 3 carrier bands nested within each other, like frequencies encoded in a chord. The innermost layer, the most subtle, contained binary symmetry consistent with 32-bit encoding. But it wasn't ASCII. It wasn't any standard human format. "It's not just a message," said SETI researcher Dr. Miriam Eddington. "It's a medium. It's setting the rules of the conversation as it goes." When decoded into amplitude variance maps, the signal produced geometric patterns, hexagonal grids, similar to the shape seen in optical images of the object. Each grid pulsed in sequence, like frames of animation, and when overlaid, they formed a spiraling structure, a logarithmic curve rotating inward toward a single point. The same mathematical shape as the trajectory of 3I/Atlas itself. It was sending its own orbital path. 5. The reply, December 8, 2025. After 36 hours of debate, NASA authorized a single test transmission. At 2:15 Universal Time Coordinated, the Canberra DSN transmitted a narrowband signal, a simple sequence of prime numbers from 2 to 101, encoded in binary, toward the object's last known coordinates. The round-trip light delay was 44 minutes. The team waited. Exactly 44 minutes later, at 2:59 Universal Time Coordinated, the sensors registered a return. Not the same sequence. A reversed one, primes descending from 101 to 2. "It heard us," said Doctor Who quietly. "And it answered." 6. The pattern within. Encouraged by the reply, the Sigma Initiative authorized a second transmission. A simple image, a binary representation of the hydrogen atom. Encoded in frequency shift keying, it was the same signal humanity had sent with Voyager 1 in 1977. 44 minutes later, the reply came again, but this time, the return signal carried a modulation pattern that, when plotted as an image, formed a mirror inversion of the original. The hydrogen atom but flipped, left to right. "It's not just echoing us," said Eddington. "It's mirroring us." 7. The silence breaks. For the next 48 hours, the signal continued, pulses in regular intervals, layered with new substructures. Spectral analysis revealed faint sidebands, microbursts only nanoseconds long. When stacked and time-compressed, those sidebands formed something resembling harmonic speech, a cascading modulation through 8.421 GHz to 8.9 microns. The ratio between the two frequencies was constant, 1:1057. That ratio matched the hydrogen-to-proton mass ratio to 7 decimal places. Someone or something was using the universe's own constants as grammar. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the signal stopped. At midnight UTC, December 10th, 3I/Atlas fell silent. Every observatory reported the same result. No pulses, no light modulation, no infrared emission. Only cold reflection, a dead mirror in orbit around nothing. 8. The last frame. 2 days later, JWST took one final image. The object was still visible, but changed. One of its 6 faces now carried a darkened mark, a geometric imprint that hadn't been there before. The mark's shape, 12 concentric arcs. The same configuration the light had displayed before the first pulse. "Maybe it wasn't a message to us," said Doctor Who. "Maybe it was a countdown. The descent. December 11th, 2025. 48 hours after the final signal, the object designated 3I/Atlas was expected to continue its outbound trajectory, receding toward the outer planets, fading into the black. But it didn't. Instead, its velocity began to drop. 1. The orbital deviation. At 5:22 Universal Time Coordinated, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, in Pasadena flagged a discrepancy. Telemetry from the SOHO and Stereo A satellites showed a subtle but undeniable deviation. The object's heliocentric velocity had decreased by 0.004%, small, but impossible to explain without external forces. Comets don't slow down after perihelion. They accelerate away, pushed by sublimating gases. 3I/Atlas was doing the opposite. "It's bleeding energy," said orbital analyst Dr. Rees. "But there's no drag, no solar-wind interaction strong enough to explain this. Something is controlling that deceleration." The official report filed to the International Astronomical Union, IAU, used a softer phrase, non-gravitational acceleration anomaly, but off-record the term everyone used was simpler, breaking. 2. Atmospheric echoes. By December 13th, the anomaly had grown. Ground-based radar at Arecibo 2, the temporary facility built after the collapse of the original telescope, confirmed that the object had changed inclination, tilting its orbital plane by 0.6 degrees. That maneuver required energy, a lot of it. "This isn't gas venting," said Dr. Majolo. "It's navigation." At the same time, a new phenomenon appeared. Earth's upper atmosphere, specifically the ionosphere above the South Pacific, began registering faint low-frequency electromagnetic oscillations. These oscillations pulsed with the same timing as the infrared bursts recorded from 3I/Atlas days earlier. Coincidence? The data said otherwise. Satellite magnetometers detected resonant coupling, as if Earth's magnetic field were responding to a distant metronome, a rhythm coming from somewhere beyond the Moon's orbit. 3. Internal communications lockdown. On December 14th, NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, and CNSA signed a confidential coordination protocol known as Directive S9. It ordered all agencies to suspend public tracking updates of 3I/Atlas, pending verification. All live orbital feeds were replaced with archived images. The SIGMA initiative, Signal Investigation of Galactic Mechanical Anomalies, was restructured under the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA, with a newly formed security branch, Task Force Orion. Publicly, they said nothing. Internally, they were preparing for something no one had language for. A leaked memo from ESA's Darmstadt Operations Center, timestamped December 15, 2025, contained just one line. "If it's not leaving, then it's coming back." 4. The shape shift. The James Webb Space Telescope was ordered to perform one final emergency observation on December 16th. JWST locked onto the object for only 9 minutes before it moved out of the field of view. But what it captured defied categorization. The hexagonal geometry that had defined 3I/Atlas since its discovery was gone. In its place was an ellipsoidal form, flattened on one axis, as if the structure had folded inward. Spectral analysis showed a dramatic increase in reflectivity across the near-infrared band. The object's surface temperature rose by 11 Kelvin, without any corresponding increase in solar flux. "It's converting something," said Webb data analyst Dr. Layla Hoffman. "Energy or geometry?" When the infrared spectrum was plotted against frequency, the resulting pattern resembled harmonic interference, the same seen in high-power microwave resonators. 3I/Atlas wasn't reflecting sunlight anymore. It was generating coherent radiation. 5. The descent begins. By December 18th, NORAD detected a change in trajectory significant enough to reclassify the object as potential Earth grazing. Its new path would bring it within 0.014 Australian dollars, roughly 2 million kilometers, of Earth's orbit by December 28th. That meant it would pass closer than any interstellar object in history. At 23:41 Universal Time Coordinated, the Deep Space Network detected a single pulse, the first since the silence on December 10th. It wasn't a repeating signal. It was one sharp, narrowband burst on 8.421 GHz, the same frequency it had used to mirror Earth's radar pings. Duration: 0.112 seconds. Amplitude: 70 times stronger than anything previously recorded. Direction: directly toward Earth. 6. The power drop. Within 6 hours of that pulse, several monitoring stations across the Pacific reported geomagnetic fluctuations. Power grids in New Zealand and southern Chile experienced brief frequency drops. NOAA satellites detected localized distortions in the Van Allen belts, as if a wave had rippled through Earth's magnetosphere. The U.S. Air Force Space Command temporarily went into silent observation mode. Civilian astronomers noticed that the aurora borealis intensified, but appeared off-axis, visible as far south as Colorado. "It looked like the sky was pulsing," said amateur observer Jake Hollister in an online post that was later deleted. "Every few minutes, like a heartbeat." 7. The pattern returns. On December 20th, the signal resumed. This time, it wasn't just infrared or radio. Multiple sensors, optical, magnetometric, gravitational, all began to register synchronous oscillations. The 163-second rhythm was back. Only now it was accelerating. The interval shortened 163, 148, 132 seconds, like a countdown. Dr. Eddington from the SETI analysis team ran the sequence against the previously decoded mirror image of the hydrogen atom transmission. When overlaid, the pulse intervals formed a binary spiral, identical to the mark seen on the object's surface in the last JWST image. "It's not just approaching," she said. "It's aligning." 8. The unofficial transmission. At 23:59 Universal Time Coordinated, December 21st, someone within Task Force Orion authorized an unauthorized broadcast from the Madrid Deep Space Complex. A narrowband signal sent toward 3I/Atlas. The contents of that transmission remain classified. But 44 minutes later, Earth received a return signal, a broadband sweep that spanned from 2 GHz to 15 GHz, powerful enough to overload receivers across 3 continents. The waveform contained a repeating harmonic envelope that, when transformed into an image, showed 12 concentric arcs, and at their center a single dark core, the same symbol that now marked the object's surface. 9. The sky tremor. By December 23rd, optical telescopes in Chile and Hawaii confirmed that 3I/Atlas had altered course again, this time slightly upward, as if breaking into a stable solar orbit near Earth's L1 Lagrange point. Its visible magnitude had increased by 0.7, bright enough to be seen through small telescopes even in daylight if you knew exactly where to look. Then came the tremor. At 4:12 Universal Time Coordinated, every gravitational wave detector on Earth, LIGO, Virgo, CAGRA, recorded a microspike. Duration, 1.2 seconds. Origin, unlocalized. But the timestamp matched the exact moment 3I/Atlas entered its new orbital window. "It's using gravity like a signal," said Majolo in her field report. "It's knocking on the door." 10. The final approach. December 25th, 2025. Christmas Day. The world still didn't know. Most observatories were silent, their data under classification. Only a handful of independent astronomers, scattered across different hemispheres, were still tracking the faint, elongated glow near the sun. At 8:11 Universal Time Coordinated, the object began to emit again, this time in visible light. Not a reflection, a pulse. 12 flashes, perfectly timed. Then darkness. 12 concentric arcs now projected across the sky. "It's communicating through geometry," whispered Eddington. "It's building a map or a doorway." At that same moment, the ionospheric oscillations ceased. Radio silence fell across multiple deep space bands. Then, for exactly 0.163 seconds, every magnetometer on Earth spiked. And in that same window, the sun's corona recorded a single, inexplicable shadow moving across it. Not an eclipse, not a CME, a shape, the contact. December 27th, 2025. 4 o'clock Universal Time Coordinated. For 3 days, 3I/Atlas remained stationary in relative coordinates, hovering in the space between the Earth and the Sun in the L1 Lagrange point zone. This behavior was not typical of any known object. Comets don't park. They fly by, fly away, disappear. This one stayed. The stillness. In the images taken by the SOHO probe, 3I/Atlas looked like an oval obscured by an even halo of light. Not a coma, not a tail, but an aura, perfectly symmetrical, as if a gravitational standing wave was spreading around it. The spectrum has changed. The infrared emission, which used to pulse, has now become continuous. The surface temperature remains stable, about 165 K, despite its proximity to the Sun. It's in equilibrium, Dr. Majolo said. It's not reacting to the Sun anymore. It's matching it. 2. The decision window. At an emergency meeting of Task Force Orion held in Geneva, it was decided to begin active monitoring of the object using an autonomous probe. This is how the Prometheus 1 mission was born, assembled in a record 72 hours on the basis of the Solar Sentinel project. Prometheus was supposed to approach 3I/Atlas at a distance of 30,000 kilometers, perform spectral and magnetic analysis, and send data back to Earth. The launch was scheduled for December 28, 2025. Before the launch, Orion's director, General Elias Moraine, uttered a short phrase that went down in the history of internal reports. If it's looking at us, we look back. 3. The transmission window. While the engineers were preparing the probe, 3I/Atlas started emitting again, not radio, not light. It was a gravitational background. The LIGO and Virgo interferometers registered weak but steady ripples at the level of 10 to 22, too small to cause an effect on Earth, but clearly structured. When the data was translated into the frequency domain, it turned out that the signal consists of two sinusoids intersecting at an angle of 12 degrees. This figure, the double spiral, has already appeared before in images generated from reflected signals. It's broadcasting the same pattern, but through space-time, Dr. Eddington said. It's no longer speaking through light. It's using gravity itself. For Prometheus launch, December 28, 2025, 9:20 Universal Time Coordinated. Prometheus 1 was launched from the Kourou base, French Guiana, on a modified Ariane 6B rocket. After 7 hours, it reached the desired orbit. The telemetry transmission started immediately, stable, clean, and without interference. At a distance of 2.1 million kilometers from Earth, the probe first detected an abnormal electrostatic field emanating from 3I/Atlas. The field had a structure resembling a plasma cocoon, and, which was impossible in all models, it did not weaken with distance. Inverse square law doesn't apply, commented Yelena Kovacs, an engineer. Whatever that field is, it's compensating for distance. 5. The encounter. When Prometheus approached 35,000 kilometers, all its cameras recorded a sudden change in the shape of the object. The surface of 3I/Atlas parted like layers of translucent plates. An array emerged from the center, not light, not radio, but radiation at a frequency of 2.3 THz. This frequency was used in intersatellite laser systems. It was aimed directly at Prometheus. After 0.6 seconds, all telemetry of the probe stopped. The signal was cut off, not as if it had been destroyed, but as if it had been absorbed. It was at this moment, at 9:28 Universal Time Coordinated, that all Deep Space Network stations registered new radiation at a frequency of 2.3 THz, emanating not from 3I/Atlas, but from the area around Prometheus. It replaced the transmitter, said one of the operators. It's talking through our probe. 6. The message. The signal lasted 112 seconds. It consisted of alternating pulses, short, long pause. After decoding via binary scan, 144 characters were obtained. Most researchers expected a random sequence, but the result turned out to be structured. Mathematicians from MIT translated the pulses into a Fibonacci-based code and obtained an array of numbers, which, when converted into an amplitude map, produced an image. There is a spiral on the map, turning into a sphere shape. In the center is a point surrounded by lines converging inwards. There are 12 short strokes below it, the same symbol as on the surface of 3I/Atlas. The signature under the data in the last line of the binary stream, 0001100100101, observe the core. 7. The core awakens. After the signal stopped, the surface of 3I/Atlas changed. The temperature rose from 165 to 210 K in a matter of minutes. A new emission line at 6.21 m has appeared on the spectra, indicating the release of hydrogen in atomic form. That's not sublimation, Dr. Majolo said. It's internal fusion, controlled. On the SOHO screens, the object began to rotate slowly. It is not chaotic, with an accuracy of 1 revolution every 163 seconds. The same period that was previously observed in pulsations is synchronized with its own signal. 8. The visual event. December 29, 2025. At 3:14 Universal Time Coordinated, the Hubble Legacy Extension Telescope captured footage that would later become legendary. An internal structure appeared inside the glowing oval, like a multitude of concentric layers rotating in antiphase. For a moment, when the rotation coincided, a short burst of visible light passed through the central area. The intensity is 42 times brighter than Venus. The duration is 0.163 seconds. Then everything was gone. 9. The ground effect. After 8 minutes, when the light from the flash reached the ground, the observatories recorded a slight but synchronous change in the gravitational field. No more than 10 G, but measurable. At the same time, the clocks in several observatories showed a lag of 0.16 seconds. Something altered space-time locally, Eddington said. Not much, but enough to prove it's active. 10. The silence again. After the flash, 3I/Atlas became static again. The temperature dropped. The radiation disappeared. Prometheus no longer showed signs of communication. On Earth, discussions went on all night. Some claimed that it was a test pulse, a demonstration of energy. Others said it was a return transmission, but not for us. The latest Task Force Orion report, dated December 30th, 2025, contains a brief summary compiled by Dr. Majolo. The object is stationary. The emission ceased. Prometheus is silent. The structure within remains coherent. Recommendation: do not engage further. Observation only. At the bottom of the report is a handwritten note. Observe the core. The shift. In the first days of January, synchronization anomalies began. Atomic clocks in the laboratories of PTB, Germany, NIST, USA, and NICT Japan began to diverge by fractions of seconds. Don't just fall behind, drift in different directions. This effect was independent of equipment, temperature, or electromagnetic fields. Even clocks shielded in deep mines showed the same discrepancies. It's as if time itself has lost reference, said physicist Dr. Tanaka from NICT. Something above us is introducing phase noise into the metric. The first suspicions fell on 3I/Atlas. The comparison showed a coincidence. The peaks of the time drift exactly corresponded to the moments of weak gravitational pulsations emanating from the object. 2. Layer separation. January 4th, 2026. The SOHO probe and the new Lumina 2 telescope experimental station in La Palma recorded a change in the shape of the object. For the first time since December, 3I/Atlas began to change again. In the infrared images, it was visible how the inner layers began to disperse, like a giant lens splitting into segments. Each layer rotated in the opposite direction with an accuracy of 163 seconds per revolution. A familiar frequency. "The shell is opening," Dr. Eddington said. "Not collapsing, not breaking, unfolding." The temperature of the outer layers dropped, and the central area became brighter. A signal with an unusual distribution passed through the spectrographs, uniform energy from microwaves to X-rays. It's impossible. Such a spectrum occurs only with artificial energy management. 3. Resonance on Earth. On the same day, local magnetic surges began to occur on Earth. In Antarctica, Siberia, and over the Pacific Ocean, instruments recorded short-term magnetic field surges with an amplitude of up to 40 nt. The compass was deflected, then returned. What struck the researchers was that the pulsations were in unison with the rotation of the object's layers. "Earth's field is being tuned," suggested engineer Valente. "Like a resonant cavity, we're part of its harmonic structure." 4. The shadow of light. January 6, 2026. 3I/Atlas suddenly became invisible in the visible range. It absorbed all the reflected light, turning into a perfect black sphere. But in radio bands and in gravitational measurements, it remained bright. Against the background of the sun, it looked like a hole, not just a shadow, but the absence of light. "It's not absorbing," Majolo said. "It's removing photons from the metric, editing visibility itself." The scientific team named this effect photometric null zone, photonic zero zone. 5. The core revealed. After 14 hours, the shadows in the orbits around 3I/Atlas began to shift. SOHO has detected a new source inside the sphere, a second object measuring about 70 meters. It pulsed in the range of 1.6 to 2.1 gigahertz, forming a modulation with a pattern identical to the human EEG rhythm. "It's mimicking neural patterns," Eddington said. "Alpha, beta, theta waves, the same frequencies as in the human brain." Comparison with databases showed that the frequencies corresponded to the sleep state, more precisely the REM sleep phase. 6. Cognitive distortion. On Earth, many observers who worked with direct data began to have hallucinatory episodes. Scientists, engineers, and station operators reported flashes of images, phrases, and sounds. Everyone described it in different ways, but the common motif was a spiral of light rotating inward. "They see a pattern that is not on the screen," Orion said in a January 7th report. "The effect of presence is as if the object is addressing the observer not through a signal, but directly into perception." After experimenting with screening, it turned out that the hallucinations were not caused by images or radio waves. Even with their monitors turned off and their eyes closed, people could sense the pattern. "It's using cognitive resonance," Majolo said. "It doesn't need to transmit words. It writes directly to awareness." 7. The second pulse. January 8, 2026. 16:03 Universal Time Coordinated. 3I/Atlas emitted a second pulse. Not like in December, not a flash of light. It was an impact on gravitational waves, registered by all detectors at the same time. The period is 0.163 seconds. The amplitude is 3 times higher than the December signal. 2 minutes after the pulse, the Earth's magnetic field changed, not destructively, but measurably. A shift of the magnetic north by 0.4 angular degrees was observed. All GPS satellites have registered microtime shifts. "The object is synchronized with Earth's core," Eddington said. "It's locked phase." 8. The core's voice. 11 minutes after the second pulse, a signal appeared at a frequency of 8.421 gigahertz, the same as that used earlier. Only now it wasn't reflecting Earth's radio waves. It was modulated by sound. After processing, a clear pattern was identified on the spectral filters, amplitude-modulated noise, which, accelerated by a factor of 16, turned into voice-like vibrations. And in the midst of this noise, there are three distinct phonemes. O, B, S, and then everything stopped. 9. Collapse of the shell. January 9th. During the day, the 3I/Atlas shell began to collapse inward. Not an explosion, not a destruction, but a reverse collapse. The visible layers disappeared, leaving only the core, a tiny, blindingly bright dot. She didn't move, but the space around her was distorted. For the first time, SOHO cameras captured the effect of a gravitational lens. Background stars curved as if around an invisible mass. But calculations showed that the mass did not increase. This means that the distortion was not due to the mass, but because of the structure of space. Its folding dimensions, Tanaka said, creating a local bridge, not between places, but between states. 10. The core signal. January 10th, 2026. Midnight UTC. The last signal from 3I/Atlas was recorded by 47 observatories at once. It lasted exactly 163 seconds. No modulations, no code, just the tone. Stable, clean, permanent. But all receivers, regardless of the distance, registered it with a delay of exactly 0 seconds. At the same time, it's physically impossible. The signal did not spread, it was present everywhere at once. It's no longer in space, Majolo said. It's in the field itself. A minute after the end of the signal, the brightness of the object dropped to 0. 3I/Atlas is gone. No wreckage, no leftovers. Only a thin gravitational background is constant, exactly 163 Hz. Since then, it has never stopped. 11. Epilogue, Observation. January 15th, 2026. Task Force Orion has been disbanded. All data is classified under the UNUSA/S9B protocol. Officially, 3I/Atlas disintegrated under the influence of solar radiation. But time is still drifting in closed laboratories. On Dr. Majolo's desk is a dictaphone with a recording of the last meeting. Eddington's voice is calm. Maybe it wasn't here to talk. Maybe it came to measure us. It looked through our gravity, our minds, our clocks, and found a pattern. She turns off the recording and looks out the window. The morning sun is in the sky. Below it, a barely noticeable point of light. 0.163 seconds. Flash. And silence. The signal below. January 28th, 2026. 18 days have passed since the disappearance of 3I/Atlas. No traces of the object have been found near Mercury's orbit. Official reports have been completed, observations have been curtailed, and public attention has begun to cool. But under the surface of the Earth, something began that no one expected. What would later be called the core resonance. 1. The residual frequency. Against the background of normal magnetic noise, geophysicists recorded a new constant frequency of 163 Hz, the one that accompanied the last 3I/Atlas signal. It was first detected in the spectrum of the Earth's magnetic field at the Vostok 2 station in Antarctica, then in Iceland, New Zealand, and the Canary Islands. The data showed that the signal was spreading globally, but without a source. It did not weaken with distance, did not depend on geographical latitude, and had no phase. He just was. It's not an EM wave, said Professor Lucia Vargas from Madrid. It's something that exists within the geomagnetic structure itself, like the field has learned a new tone. 2. The pulse underground. In early February, unexplained microvibrations began to occur in the mines of China, Russia, and Canada. At depths from 2 to 8 kilometers, seismographs recorded short tremors, smooth, periodic, again with an interval of 0.163 seconds. These fluctuations did not correspond to earthquakes. They did not originate from one epicenter. Rather, they appeared everywhere at once. Imagine tapping the entire planet with a single, synchronized beat, said geophysicist Dr. Wan from Toronto. That's what we're seeing. But there's no drummer. 3. The displaced core. February 6, 2026. The Lunar Array-1 radio telescope has detected reflected neutrino signals from the Earth's inner core, something that was previously considered impossible. According to the analysis, the density and heat flux of the core have changed by 0.3%. Everything is still within the normal range, but the direction of the shift is strange. Instead of gradual cooling, there is a local condensation in the equatorial zone. The core has shifted phase, Dr. Vega said. It's oscillating at the same frequency, 163 Hz. Exactly. Some scientists have suggested that this is the result of the interaction of the residual gravitational field from 3I/Atlas with the Earth's center of mass. But calculations showed that there could be no such influence. The object had disappeared, and the waves should have dissipated long ago. 4. The human effect. At the same time, reports of strange synchronous dreams began to arrive from researchers working with 3I/Atlas data. The dream was repeated for almost everyone. The black sky, from which a column of light rises, and the sensation of sound, not audible to the ear, but felt by the bones. Sleep was accompanied by pulsation in the temples, the same frequency, 163 Hz. Heart monitors recorded that during sleep, the heart of all participants slowed down, then synchronized with this frequency for a short time. It's as if something inside us is resonating with the planet, said Dr. Vega, or with what's inside it. 5. Deep Listening Project. In response to these anomalies, the Deep Listening Project, DLP, International Initiative is being created, a program aimed at studying subsurface signals. By March 2026, a network of 19 seismic detectors and 7 neutrino detectors around the world was operating in a single monitoring mode. On March 8th, they recorded something new. Suddenly, on top of a uniform pulse of 163 Hz, a rhythmic pattern appeared, short, modulated groups of vibrations like a code. The duration ratio is 1:3 to 2:1. And a few hours later, the same pattern was discovered in the waves of the oceans. 6. The sea pattern. The sensors of the Sentinel-03 satellite showed that the wave activity over the Atlantic and the Indian Ocean repeats the same pattern. The tidal phases have become slightly out of sync with the gravitational influence of the Moon. Thermal images show that the surface of the water forms huge spiral structures that follow the shape of the Earth's magnetic lines. Their period coincides with the core oscillation. It's a global standing wave, said Professor Ehlers from Berlin. The planet is ringing like a bell, but the bell was never struck. 7. The hollow signature. April 2026. After several months of analysis, the neutrino detectors IceCube, Antarctica, and Kamioka, Japan, discovered a new anomaly. A stream of neutrinos emanated from the center of the Earth with a clear periodicity, again 0.163 seconds. But this stream had a special feature. It came from the void. Calculations showed that an abnormally low-density zone had formed inside the core, an empty chamber with a diameter of about 9 kilometers. It's not molten metal, said Dr. Ruan. It's a void, perfectly spherical, reflective to neutrinos. That shouldn't exist. Scientists have named it Zone Null, Zero Zone. 8. The reappearance. On the night of May 1, 2026, at the moment when the Earth passed a certain position in orbit coinciding with the 3I/Atlas extinction vector, all Zone Null sensors recorded a sharp spike in the signal. Neutrinos, magnetic waves, gravitational pulses. Everything has increased 1,000-fold. And amidst the chaotic noise, a familiar tone reappeared, the same one that was recorded in January, only now it came from inside the Earth. It's back, Vega said, but it's below us. 9. The message in phase. When the signal was processed, it turned out that the frequency was no longer stable. She hesitated, barely perceptibly, creating a pattern. These fluctuations repeated the amplitude structure of human speech. After the digital reconstruction, something similar to words appeared. Illegible, fragmented, but with 3 recognizable peaks. The same as in the January signal. OBS-10. The hypothesis. Dr. Vega formulated a hypothesis that sent a chill down the spine of her colleagues. 3I/Atlas has not disappeared. He crossed over. Not in space, but in the structure of the field. And now its core is inside the planet, synchronized with its center. He became a part of the Earth. If this is true, the object has not left us. He intertwined with the physics of the planet, turning it into a resonator. And if the process continues, the Earth may become the first planet to carry an alien structure inside itself. Not in the form of matter, but in the form of a frequency pattern. 11. The silent consensus. By May, the Deep Listening Project is officially frozen. All data is classified under the UNUSA/S12C protocol. The reports speak of geomagnetic noise anomalies. But the project staff knows the truth. Every night, when they turn off the equipment, the rhythm sounds faintly from the depths of the Earth. 0.163, 0.163, 0.163, not loudly, not threatening, just a reminder. 12. Epilogue echoes. May 17, 2026. At Vostok 2 Station, technician Andrei Lavrentiev wakes up in the middle of the night. There is a straight line on the monitor, but with headphones connected directly to the magnetometer, he hears a sound similar to breathing. Smooth, cyclical. He turns on the recording and whispers into the microphone. "If you're still there, give me a sign." The answer comes not in the sound, but in the vibration of the floor. One punch. Pause. 2 short ones. 1 long one. 1, 2, 1. The same rhythm that appeared in March. He's smiling, and he whispers, "I can hear you." A new label appears on the spectrogram. 0.163 Hz, 0.162 Hz. The rhythm is changing. It gets closer to the heartbeat. The heart of the world. June 21st, 2026. Summer Solstice Day. 6 months have passed since the 3I/Atlas disappeared and reappeared inside. All projects have been closed, observations have been terminated, and reports have been classified. But there is still a rhythm under the surface of the planet. Invisible, unchangeable. 0.163, 1. The still planet. The world seemed quieter. Seismographs record less activity than during the entire observation period. Storms on the oceans are less frequent. Even magnetic storms are rare. Scientists call this the anomalous stabilization of planetary systems. But in the labs where 3I/Atlas was once studied, the staff call it something else. The heartbeat. "The planet has found a rhythm," said Dr. Vega, "and it's the same as his." 2. The signal becomes silence. In early July, the neutrino detectors stopped seeing the pulse. At first, we thought it was an equipment failure, but the check showed that everything works perfectly. The signal disappeared. It didn't break off, it didn't die down, it just dissolved. It was as if the frequency had reached a harmony in which the difference between sounds and silence ceased to exist. 3. The deep dream. In the same week, thousands of people around the world reported having the same dream. Dark. Then there was a quiet glow underfoot, as if the ground were transparent. Light rises from the depths. Not blinding, but alive, soft, warm. And in this light, there is a sense of a familiar presence. "It didn't speak," said one of the eyewitnesses. "It was just breathing, and I realized that we weren't alone anymore. Not because someone flew in, it's because someone woke up." 4. The synchronization. August 9th, 2026. Strange synchronicities began all over the world. Pendulums in laboratories began to oscillate with the same period, regardless of length. Pressure fluctuations in the oceans have leveled off to a single cycle. Even the pulse of some people connected to sleep monitors was synchronized with the barely discernible magnetic background of the planet. It's like everything alive and inert is breathing together, Vega said. One system, one heart. 5. The Forgotten Sky. In the fall of 2026, telescopes recorded a mysterious phenomenon. The regions of space around the sun began to weaken in the infrared range, as if something was muffling radiation at a frequency corresponding to 0.163 seconds. Some scientists call this echo shield, echo protection. Others are the silence field. No one knows what it is, but the vector coincides with the line along which 3I/Atlas left. 6. The Message. September 12, 2026. The sound is heard again at the Vostok 2 station. No magnetic background, no instrument noise, just a short tone, like a sigh of wind in the void. 163 seconds is exactly as long as the last Atlas signal lasted in January. There is a familiar pattern on the waveform. The amplitude adds up to a shape, not numbers, not a code. And the heart rate. 7. The Understanding. Dr. Vega looks at the screen. He speaks softly. He didn't try to contact me. He was trying to synchronize. And now the synchronization is complete. She closes her eyes. And for the first time in months, he doesn't hear a pulse. Because now he's everything. 8. The Heart of the World. Night. The sea is motionless. The earth doesn't shake. All living things beat in a single rhythm, barely perceptible, but eternal.